You're listening to Soap Dirt, the latest in television entertainment news.
Hi, Young and the Restless fans. So this week we have Sharon Newman and Phyllis Summers trapped together, which of course is bad enough, but they are in a totally creepy location and someone is toying with them. It's like a real life escape room where maybe there's no escape or only one of them can escape. It's Belinda from Soap Dirt, and let's talk about what has been done to Sharon and Phyllis and how they might be able to get out of this alive. But first, please subscribe if you're not following us. So we caught a glimpse on Monday's episode of Phyllis passed out on the floor of some creepy place, and then on Tuesday's episode, Sharon wakes up there first and then sees Phyllis is there with her as well. Even without some psycho messing with them, this is Sharon and Phyllis's worst case scenario, you know? That question of who would you want to be trapped on a deserted island with? We've all played that game. Sharon would never say Phyllis and vice versa. And of course, when Sharon wakes her up, Phyllis immediately assumes that Sharon did this to her. That once again, she's come unhinged and is targeting, Phyllis and her family, only this time coming at Phyllis directly. Meanwhile, Sharon wonders if this was Phyllis taking the revenge that she promised to take on Sharon if she didn't wind up in prison for what she did to Daniel and Heather and all that. I mean, let's face it, both of these ladies have good reason to suspect the other one put them there. Phyllis thinks Sharon's out of control and a supervillain, and Sharon thinks Phyllis is toxic, manipulative, vengeful, lots of other out of control adjectives. This is a nightmare scenario for them both, and there's plenty of accusations to go around, and it turns out that they are in the Havenhurst psychiatric clinic that's apparently been shut down for a while because it's dusty, it's dank, and it's nasty. It's not someplace they've mentioned before on Y&R that I can recall, nor is it any place that Sharon has been sent before, like she spent time at Fairview Psychiatric. And there's little doubt this is Ian Ward playing twisted life or death games with the ladies. But at first, Phyllis and Sharon's mutual dislike stops them from seeing the bigger picture. Each of them wants to blame the other. They're swapping insults. Phyllis is throwing her framing Daniel and dumping Heather's body into her face, and Sharon's throwing Phyllis faking her death in her face. Although, if I recall, at one point, Sharon also faked her death, as one does. I mean, who hasn't, right? So after a bunch of back and forth insults, Phyllis and Sharon are going to realize they're trapped. They're here together for a reason. And if they don't work together, they may not get out of this alive. Although at first, Phyllis wondered if whoever this is locked them in there together to see which one might kill the other. And in that case, I'm not actually sure who my money would be on in a death match. I mean, Sharon's scrappy and she might unleash her wild side, but Phyllis is taller and she has a better reach. So it could be a close one if it were a fight to the death. But instead, they find out that they are being forced to play somebody else's sick game. And the prize is that they get to survive. But that could be a lie. Because bear in mind, this is Sharon's, by the way, second kidnapping in just a few weeks. I don't really get why Josh Griffith likes to repeat stuff so much, like with those 3 simultaneous mental health storylines, Connor, Ashley, and Sharon, 4, if you count Chelsea's issues in there. It's like if he thinks, if one is good, 4 is better. But with writing plots, that's not true. But it's what we have. So we're going to see a ton of screen time coming up with just Sharon and Phyllis. And in fact, if you've not seen it yet, Tuesday's episode has no other characters. It's just Sharon and her nemesis Phyllis in that gross room, bickering with each other, panicking, slinging accusations, and trying to figure a way out. Meanwhile, their families have finally noticed both of them are gone, and they start launching accusations at each other. Mariah thinks Phyllis did something to Sharon, and Summer says it's probably Sharon losing it again and targeting their family once more. But with the ladies locked down in that creepy place that is clearly shut down, it's hard to imagine that they can find them easily, So Phyllis and Sharon are going to have to work together to get out of there. And I bet Phyllis would rather throw Sharon to the wolves than cooperate with her. And that goes in the other direction too. Because as Phyllis is raging at her, Sharon's probably thinking, if I smother her, can I just leave alone? It's messy. It gets messier soon. I have no doubt this is the work of Ian Ward. He has been hiding out since Victor shot him. The EMTs declared him dead on the scene at the ranch, but he gasped to life in the ambulance. That, by the way, is called Lazarus syndrome. It is a real medical science thing named after the guy from the Bible that rose from the dead when he was told to. So the ladies have canned food. They've got some water, but Sharon warned, it may be drugged with the PCP like she was drugged with before. And it definitely looks like Phyllis and Sharon were both drugged to get them to that point. Maybe we get some flashback scenes of how they were taken. And now they're stuck together in this horrible place as their families are panicking. Chance Chancellor starts a search, but he's not exactly a great cop. So good luck to that. But you have to ask, what kind of sick games does Ian Ward have in mind for them? He hates Sharon because he thinks she stole Mariah from him, but that's his own fault for being a creepy adoptive dad, so creepy that Ian married Mariah. Thankfully, Sharon and Nick stopped him from consummating the marriage. As for Phyllis, at one point, she betrayed Ian after they met. Once she figured out who he was, she told the Newmans he was back in town. That was out when he was living in the woods in that RV years and years ago. And Ian, might have scooped both them up to punish Nick Newman for not killing him and finishing him off when he asked him to at the ranch. I mean, Ian's brain is like a bag full of hamsters on meth, so it's hard to even say what is going on in there. He is very distraught over Jordan killing herself and just the Newmans basically getting away with everything again as far as he can see. I don't think he's there, though, to get Sharon and Phyllis to let bygones be bygones, to hang it out and sing Kumbaya. I expect him to pit them against each other. He may encourage violence, shenanigans, the blame game, maybe some deadly dares where only one of them can survive this ordeal. And even though Phyllis despises Sharon, I don't think she'd kill her in cold blood to satisfy their kidnapper, Ian. And I absolutely doubt Sharon would assault Phyllis to save herself. Maybe they should just both sit down calmly and refuse to play Ian's games. That would drive him crazier than he already is. And then he might have to come and confront them. And, that would give them a chance to escape. I hope they kick his butt. That's what my fingers are crossed for. Right now, though, Phyllis and Sharon are not sure at all who has them. They're just getting this disembodied voice over a speaker they don't recognize, and they assume that Ian is dead. He's not, but he wants revenge, so we'll see how bad it gets. But this is scary stuff, but it could also be fun.
Thank you for being a loyal listener. Follow us wherever you get your podcast, because you don't want to miss the next episode. Soap Dirt is on all the major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more.